couple moments. One, the last scene, Ducks one, where he's going onto the bus, Gordon Bombay, and then we didn't know they actually shot that on the last day. So we had just had this like life-changing experience, so many of us, and we were about to say goodbye. So everybody was emotional, and most of us had already like packed up, like my station wagon, we'd packed it up, and Chevy Caprice. And we're gonna leave Minneapolis and go down go back to Chicago, and then we didn't know he was gonna say I'll see you next season, and that's when I think, and everybody cheers, and we didn't know. So what's on film was actually a surprise to all of us,
Wow.
And we didn't know that they were actually maybe gonna make a movie, and that we also didn't know that the whole plan all along was to buy a hockey team. But that was the higher ups of Disney,
Welcome back to the Positive Gains podcast. Today, my special guest is Mr. Matt Doherty. A lot of people would say AKA Lester Averman from the Mighty Ducks franchise films. He's done a whole lot of other things, been on Bones, Mo Money. I just learned Home Alone. Matt, thank you for being on today.
Oh, my pleasure, Mike. My pleasure. How did you get the nexus to start this whole thing?
You know what? I was in the pandemic, so like everybody bored at home, and I was on a 2-week quarantine leave, so contract tracing. I never got sick, but I was around somebody and I was bored, so I started watching Cobra Kai, binge watching it, and then I got bored and I was like, you know what? I think I could do a podcast, and I'll try to. Yeah, I'd like to.
I love how it always comes from boredom. It always comes from boredom. Boredom is underrated.
Yeah, through boredom, I was like, I'd like to ask questions, and if I could do something, I'd do it my own way. And yeah, here I am 5 years later.
Yeah, I interview the interviewer. It's very meta. I always like to know where things start, because I think the beginnings of things are always fascinating.
They are, and if like I said, I was like, I'll just do 5, and after 5 interviews, if I don't like it or if I'm not, rocking with it, then I'll move on. But no,
it's that's kind of like to what you're talking about with positivity and all that stuff. Like, yeah, testing something out, going on a date before you marry it, and they go, hey, like I did the same thing with my feature film. We were like in post-production for and finishing, and we made it same thing. I was like, nothing was happening, and we made this whole movie for nothing with our iPhones and with my friends, and I'm like super proud of it. If you watched it, you'd be like, you guys made this for nothing on your iPhones? But the same first rule, like that first day, I was like, let me try this out. Let's see if I like it. I'm just gonna do this one test day, and then it was the same thing, and then it was like, that was great. Oh, it looks good. I had fun. They had fun. Mm-hmm. We all want to do it again. Okay, let's do it again. Yeah, it's a really cool way to roll.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you just build from it in life, with anything. It doesn't have to be a podcast. Just, trying. And I always tell people one piece of advice that I kind of live by is whether you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, you're right.
That's right.
So yeah, the first thing I have for you is what inspired you to become an actor in the first place?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I was a kid, so, I don't think my ambitions were probably really, pure because I was a kid. And I think that's a place that's really awesome for all of us. And we fight like heck to get back to it as adults. But I think mine was, I just wanted I'm the youngest of like five brothers. So, I got everything last, I got the hand-me-downs, I got all that stuff. And I think I just saw my brother doing something. And I mean, if I'm really honest with you, dude, it was like, oh, I could probably do that better. I could probably do that better. So like I saw him in a play, I'm like, I want a little of that, right? Yeah, so it's like a little, classic brother stuff. And mostly I think I was like wanting to get out of the house and go like experience all this stuff you saw on like like Thursday night TV when I was a kid on NBC or something, which was like Family Ties, The Cosby Show, Bad Rep Now, Night Court, all those great shows, and I was just like, I was flabbergasted by all that stuff. And I think I just saw it, and then I saw an ad in the paper in the Chicago Tribune, and they were wanting like redheads for some cattle call, which is the term for like an open call, right? Cattle call, like anyone can come. And it was in downtown Chicago, and I don't know where that comes from. I'm like nine years old, almost 10. And I think maybe I was 10. And then and like I just was like, I want to go to that. I don't know where that comes from. Like I was looking in the paper. It's just like, what is that, And then I think after that first audition, I made Gary Marshall laugh, the great Gary Marshall. Somehow I got all the way to the end, and I was so nervous, and he asked me to relax and do a handstand because I said I did gymnastics because I was so scared, He's like, well, what do you do for fun, kid? And I was like, I do gymnastics, swimming, and baseball. And he's like, well, do a handstand. And I like tried to do a handstand and kept falling, and he started laughing. And I think that was he's like, you're funny, kid, get an agent. That's how it all started,
So kind of a little thing with sibling rivalry in a sense for you, just trying to maybe one up your brother, and then
and then making people laugh and going okay and want to get out of the house,
And was the first role that you got, was it Home Alone?
Yeah. It was like my second audition was the Mickey Mouse Club, which is crazy how many people end up that are my age that were either in it or were up for it, and I did really great until I had to sing.
That's where it stopped.
But I got a pair of Mickey Mouse ears. They gave me the Mickey Mouse ears, and then I didn't get that one, and then the third one was this commercial, which I got. I was so lucky, man. It was like, wish I could use. I burned a lot of my luck in my early life, and then the third one was this commercial. Like it was unprecedented, and then which ended up having Anna Klumsky in it, who was my girl and was on Veep, and is a great actor, and to this day is an incredible human. We've walked very similar paths, and we were in this commercial together. And then my fourth thing was Home Alone, yeah, the main role, and we were all trying to bring down Macaulay Culkin's asking price, and then the director gave everybody roles in the movie. He came out, he's like, everybody's going to be in the movie, and so he did. He kept his word. We were all in the movie.
A side note on that was I think every year that house will pop up around Christmas time, and people always share that same meme, and it says, what did Peter McAllister do for a living to be able to leave all those lights on during Christmas and have that big giant house?
Take his family to Paris.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So for you growing up in Illinois, how did your environment influence that journey? I know you talked about your brother and kind of auditioning, but was there anything else around you that kind of helped push you in that direction?
Oh yeah. We make great, there's a long track record of Midwest states, prairie states, producing really great theater artists, actors, writers, directors. And I have my theory on why that is. There's the Second City in Chicago. There's, it's an improv center of the world. It's the Steppenwolf Theater, which was the great, when I was coming up, those were the greats. And when Chicago was such a company town in the 80s and 90s, because it had so many corporations that were hubbed there, and they didn't want to spend money to go do LA or New York, they did a lot of commercials. So that's why it's always had such a rich theater life until recently, and all the cuts, and especially in the current administration that is just killing the arts. And like, it was always a hub for artists because they could get jobs, and
Right.
Like you could survive doing theater and industrial commercials for Sara Lee bread company, or and so like that's why we had 25, 30 years of great playwrights, great directors, like American stuff that people still study today. And to grow up during that was, of course, an influence. And then that trickles down. Here I was, I'm in movies, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm becoming like a quote unquote kid star. But then I'd come back to my high school, public school, and like a mixed neighborhood that was all white, and then went to all black. So it was like a real, white flight right there in the 90s, and experienced all that. And that was a big effect on me. And watching that scared white people run off to Indiana. And like, but our public schools, man, like Thornwood, where I went to school, had so much theater. Like because it was a theater town and a film town, that like the art professors there, the English teachers, were like it was insane how good they were and how many opportunities we would learn. So I think that is like singular. And you could ask anybody my age, 10 years younger, 5 years older, 10 years older, like that's a fact. Like, people, like the competitions for theater and like debate, poetry, and like adaptation in the state of Illinois are like as well attended as basketball games, as like competitive. And so that is what creates like, that's so to this day, like in my bones. Yeah.
Thornwood, though, I'm trying to remember, and I could be wrong. I think didn't Jason Weaver go to school there?
That's right. Yeah, we grew up about 2 blocks from each other.
Really?
Yeah, we literally grew up 2 blocks from each other. That's a good. Yeah, he was in called the news section, and I was in like it was like where and I remember he had the basketball net. I was like, man, Jason had a basketball net. But like, yeah, we literally literally had the same agent, went to the same school. That whole Lion King thing was blowing up around this, like just a little like around that same time as me doing Ducks, which was just crazy. Yeah, great dude, great talent.
Another side note I always wonder is, you kind of touched on it, going to public school, and then you're creating all these things, and then you're coming back, and so I always wonder, like, what was life like trying to be in school and be just a regular kid, but you have all these monumental things going on.
It's weird, Mike. That's the first word. It's the best thing to describe it is you feel like you don't fit in either world. Like I never felt like I was like a Hollywood kid, because I'm not. I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, and which is like middle class to working class. Where it never felt like real. And I also just didn't feel like I belonged, because like in a lot of that. And then like I identified with being a District 5 kid for the Ducks for sure. And then come home, I'd be like this kid who I just wanted to fit in with my peers. So I kind of felt strange in both worlds. And then it's also just a strange time when you're like 15, 16, 14, that's just a weird time for all of us. But like, it's totally created who I am today, so I don't regret any of it. But yeah, it's not easy, especially when your mom's school closed, my dad's job ended right around that same time. So that was like a topsy-turvy whirlwind time.
Then we'll get into the films, the Duck films. So 3 of them were made. I think you guys did what 92, 94, 96, right?
I think so. Yeah. Your math is better than mine.
I came to the party a little late because I'm 35, so I really didn't start watching till probably after the 3rd one was made. But they're classics in my household, and so yeah, they're iconic now. I mean, I think you guys are kind of doing something similar with going to some of the hockey rinks, and I think Joshua Jackson and somebody else had announced a first round pick.
Oh yeah, for the Ducks.
For the Ducks. So,
and that was
I mean, it's
Marguerite.
crazy
Marguerite
how
Moreau played Connie.
Yep. Yeah. So it's come full circle, man. And so what do you most remember vividly about being on set and landing the role, and just some of the moments and things that you took from making those films?
I mean, it's we didn't know we were making. I've said this before, but like we didn't know we were making an iconic film that they'd make 3 that people to this day, like I go to places, like I'm going to Ohio and to throw out a first pitch for the Rubber Decks hockey team in Akron, Ohio, and there's a bobblehead version of me. I now have 2 bobbleheads, you know, which is crazy. It's like nuts. Like we didn't know we were making a thing that like people would show their kids, you know, that NHL Hall of Fame stars, you know, would say they played hockey because of this movie, you know, and so I don't think we knew it, you know. We just thought. I mean, I think there was a point where at the end, I think we knew we had something special, and then so that last scene, what I most vividly remember are a couple of moments. One, the last scene, Ducks one, where he's going onto the bus, Gordon Bombay, and then we didn't know they actually shot that on the last day. So we had just had this like life-changing experience, so many of us, and we were about to say goodbye. So everybody was emotional, and most of us had already like packed up, like my station wagon, we'd packed it up, you know, and Chevy Caprice. And we're going to leave Minneapolis and go down go back to Chicago. And then we didn't know he was going to say I'll see you next season. And that's when I think, and everybody cheers, and we didn't know. So what's on film was actually a surprise to all of us, you know. Wow. And we didn't know that they were actually maybe going to make a movie, and that we also didn't know that the whole plan all along was to buy a hockey team. But that was the higher ups of Disney, you know. You know, and then skating on the rink, you know, at for the first time, we were the first players on that ice. To this day, getting to meet Wayne Gretzky, getting to meet Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, getting to meet Michael J. Fox, my personal hero, and things like that. Christina Yamaguchi, Luganis, these are like Olympians. Oh, holding a 1980 Miracle Gold Olympic gold medal, you know, wow. Holding it in my hand. Things like that, you know, are singular experiences that I'll be grateful for the rest of my life. But also just like what our coach taught us about, you know, I am who I am today. You know, I'm a grinder. I'm the kind of like, I'm the captain that maybe not is the most gifted player on the team, but I'm the captain. You know, I get that energy. And that's because I had a coach that taught me all that stuff. And in the time we had, the values I learned. I know it sounds crazy, but I learned values in Hollywood. You know, it's carried me through some hard times.
And so you'd already had experience playing hockey in Chicago and all that?
To get the role. No, all of us did. And they knew we had.
Really?
They had known we were all going to lie. So I don't know why we lied. And then they set up this hockey camp, which was the best time. You know, we would train for like 4 to 6 weeks and go to school. And then the last memory would be the rumors that we all had, you know, not knowing who was going to play Gordon while we were in hockey camp. And like everybody, we were all like wagering, like making bets, like who was going to be. We had heard it might be this, and then, you know, Emilio Estevez is the biggest star of Hollywood at that time. Mm-hmm. And then when he shows up and springs us from school, and that's how he makes his introduction. We're all going to school in this like training room in a hockey camp, in a ice arena, and just like it has a like teenage ice hockey stank in it, you know. And we're all going to school. And he storms in and is like springing us from school to take us to go play video games and drive go-karts. So we just fell in love with him from that second one. Like he knew how to like, he came in, and taught, again, values. I learned how to be a leader from things like that, you know?
Did you have a favorite film out of the three, or did it not really matter to you, just all of them, or
They all
is
kind
there
of
one you
feel
like
like a
more?
part of one. They all had challenges, you know? My brother Dan and I were out on Ducks 2, and because it was a hard, you know, he was my guardian, and there had just been a death close to the family. So Ducks 3 had the like least personal challenges. So I'd say that one, even though like maybe people say it's like lesser of a movie, I don't know. Like we had a good time on that one. So yeah.
That's probably
I'll
my
go back to
favorite.
the first one. I'll go back to the first one
Okay.
probably because just how rare, we didn't know what was going on, and just being able to hear. And maybe Ducks 3 only because we had relationships with so much of the crew by then, and we knew each other so well. Jeffrey Nordling, who's a friend to this day, he debuted a play of mine here in LA, and you know he kidnaps me on set and says you're an artist and you should go be a writer, director, and an actor and study this stuff, save my life, you know. Um, Getting to meet Martin Sheen on Ducks 3, and hearing all the stories, like, because when you're on a movie set, and if you pay attention, you know, Hollywood is real blue collar under its fancy schmancy stuff and this monoculture that's killing everything today, which breaks my heart because I love
Right.
making movies and I'm an independent filmmaker in my core. But what I love about movies are all the stories that every crew member has. You know, if you're paying attention and you love movies as much as I do, you'll be talking to somebody, you know, who was on set of Apocalypse Now and was the guy they lit on fire. You know, you'll be talking to somebody who would tell a story about working with Michael Mann on a you know, and like, and just that community and that legacy is unreal, man. If you love movies as much as I do.
Yeah, a lot of networking and long lasting relationships that are
Yeah,
made past
and well,
movies.
yeah, and it's weird because it's gig based. You know, it's a real intimate, false thing that people get, and then you might never see each other again. You know, and that's kind of the way the circus rolls.
So I'd never been to a hockey game, and I went years ago, probably like uh 15, 16 years ago. And that was when Gretzky was coaching, and people were like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys want to go to the game? They're free tickets." So we go all the way out there, and we had really good seats. And some people next to us, they were diehard fans. You know, they were like, "Hey, what do you first time?" You know, just talking. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I've never been, but I'm a real Mighty Ducks fan. I'm a big fan. I love the films." I was like, and that guy, Gretzky, I said he was, you know, obviously in the movie, the second one, cameo. They
Yep.
got so upset at me. They were just almost dang near belligerent, like that guy. Oh my gosh, he's the reason why the Coyotes this and that. Oh, it went south, you know. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, do I need to move seats? But you know, the kid in me was just happy to be at a game and experience it. And to the diehard hockey fans, oh
Have you ever
no, they were.
have you ever seen the video? I'll send it to you. My friend Johannes sends it to me. He's Oakland. He's African. He's white and East African, and he sends me this video of the Blackhawks when we had our dynasty, and they were interviewing some guys on the street. And there was a West Chicago African guy on Chicago, and they're like, "Hey, what do you guys think? We guys won 3 Stanley Cups in a row." And he goes, "Man, it's so great. It's so great. They got the brothers coming out." It was just so fun. I'll send it to you. It like, I know I probably should
Yeah.
make that joke. It's like
No.
it's so funny. It's like, I'll send it to you.
I remember it to this day, and I could not believe it. And they were like, "You're casual, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm innocent." I told them, so please don't hold it against me.
Yeah,
That story's
I love
funny
that they
for me.
yelled at you about Wayne Gretzky. That's really, really funny.
Yeah, screaming at the top of their lungs, and I'm sitting right here screaming. So whatever.
Hockey fans are they're a little like, they're like oddly superior. Totally. Yeah, I get it.
I wasn't used to it. I've been around the football and basketball fans, but hockey,
Totally
they were
different.
another level. Totally different.
Totally different. Totally different. I
So
100%
I
agree.
learned my lesson. How has your approach now to acting or directing or writing changed since, your first early days in Hollywood?
Oh wow. Oh man, I don't know. I don't feel the need. And part of this is just getting older. Where you're like, you don't feel the need to have everybody like you. Oh my God, I want to make everybody happy, and you kind of, I think what a great artist needs is this kind of like, Michael Caine calls it benevolent disdain. Where you benevolent, but a little like, I don't really need you to like. And there's a freedom in that. So I think mixed with how you can't unlearn when and you've taken things personally, because so many artists, I'm sure this is like this in athletes and anything super competitive, right? Science grants, I'm sure they got the same stuff if people are trying to get into like a JPL or whatever. So much of the like finite number of places for people to get a gig. It's just not personal, It really isn't. And so when you're an artist and it's you feel rejected. And so I feel like now, like I feel I'm a late bloomer, but I feel free of that. I'm like, if it's not my thing, it's not my thing. And that's really great. And I just, in that, like, I care about the craft, but I don't confuse my own personal achievements with what is the accidental success, which is things that you cannot control,
Right. Wow.
and don't ever let that affect my self-esteem. And when it does, because of course it does, I have to do something to remember that. And that's, it's hard to talk about this stuff without unpacking it and going, well, this is all of us, anyone who does anything like this,
Right.
like your thing, or whatever, it's like haters gonna hate.
Oh yeah. They are. There's another line, like if you wanted to make everybody happy, go sell ice cream, and even then they still wouldn't be happy.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you got to do it for yourself and start internally and know why. I always tell people, know your why and then stick to it. You got to learn to evolve. The criticism is going to come, but if you're comfortable, everything else will work. It's magic. And like you said, if you have to take a step back and take a break, it's okay.
Yeah.
There's no shame
know your
in that.
why. I love that. Know your why. That's really cool.
Thank you. Or some creative outlets that you pursue outside of acting, like maybe trying to get away from the business. Like, what do you like to do?
Well, I don't really act. I only act when the phone rings these days. I've spent a lot of my last 15 years and 20 years really kind of grieving, just because I was good at something and people liked that I was good at it, didn't mean that I loved it, And
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I love great material and I love acting. I just don't like the industry, especially today. So I much prefer being behind the camera. I much prefer working with actors. I much prefer giving them great material to chew on, inspiring them, directing, writing, producing, working with artists, teaching, writing, anything like that, helping people find a way to do the thing they want to do. There's nothing more rewarding than that, because I've like cut through the jungles with a machete creatively on a couple of independent projects that I know how to do that. So I loved giving that away. And then I love hiking, like getting out in the mountains, getting out in the Southwest. and going up into, exploring the Sierra Nevadas, and hanging out with my dog and watching movies and playing the guitar. I've been fingerstyle guitar playing for years, and then always listening to like, old school music, whether it's I like anything that has like that deep cut, like what do they say, like in Memphis where they had these like Muscle Shoals or coming out of or Muscle Shoals or Stax or things like that, like real roots Americana, blues, country, R&B, funk. I love that. So I kind of geek out on it.
What does your playlist look like right now? Some artists that you're listening to?
I've been listening to a lot of Talking Heads, and because of that, I've been getting into King Sunny Ade, who is the like godfather of. I want to know where he's from. I think he's Senegalese. He's let me find out. Nigerian, and so he's kind of like Fela Kuti, but like multiple polyrhythms and like music that just fills your heart with joy and makes you just kind of like feel good. So I've been listening to a lot of him, and then I've been listening to Bill Evans Trio out of some 50s jazz, some John Coltrane, and I always will listen to Bob Dylan and John Prine. So it's eclectic.
Yeah, very. How about advice, man? With everything that you've seen, I mean, you've got to kind of spoke about, why you don't like Hollywood now, and just things that, like nowadays, like this generation, a lot of the kids just want to see, like, I want to be on TV. I want to do this. I want to do that, and they don't really know why. A lot of them, they just know they want to be on there. Or like we were saying before, know your why. Why do you want to do it? How are you going to make this happen? Do you understand that you won't understand the ins and outs, but do you understand that some things are just not for everybody? And that's in life. That's not just acting. That's sports. You name it, whether you're working at Burger King, everything's not for everybody. So with that, what advice would you offer to somebody that might want to follow those footsteps?
Man, well, the question itself is great. Well, I always go to quote you. I think really know your why and track it. Like it might change. Be open to change. If you're doing anything outside of the like norm of whatever, like it feels like we're being squeezed into this on no matter what you look at, into like it's almost like this algorithm culture is just limiting us, and then it's self-limiting, and then we're limiting further and we're limiting further. We're like, and then pretty soon our cellular memory of 99% of life, nuance, critical thinking, fact and truth are going to be just gone. And I think one of the ultimate acts of resistance is to fight against that algorithm and like be who you are, unalgorithmic. We're all a series of contradictions. And like if you're going to do anything that's outside of that, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, it's like we're even programmed to like when we pick this thing up, it's like this, and then it's like it just sends you what it's going to send you, and like I think we're so individual, and I would be like, explore, learn, grow, figure out who you are, outside of like I try to every year. This is just me. Every year, do something that feels way outside my comfort zone, like I can't do, right? And I've done it now for like 10 years and more. And like this last year, making a movie, right? Making like going, I'm not gonna wait. I'm so tired of being on the 1 yard line on these projects and asking other people. I was like, I'm just gonna do this thing, and not a short film. I'm gonna make a feature film, right? And and failing, changing one's relationship with failure. Like I was at the Dodgers game. My friend has tickets. The night Clayton Kershaw broke into the 3,000 club. Just happened to be there because they were playing the White Sox, and grew up a White Sox fan, so of course it was against the White Sox. And so but like, just, dude, it's one of the best pitchers of all time, right? And like how much he grinded in order to make that happen that day. But it was like a microcosm for how much failure is involved in achieving greatness, And I think this young generation can use a little grit because they're going to need it. The world is a mess right now.
You know what, too? I always wonder, like, in your guys' craft, back when you were acting, people look at a lot of the times what you get. They'll say, oh, look, you were on the Mighty Ducks. And being grateful, of course, hey, I was on that show or that movie, but people don't see, like you say, the failures. You didn't get every audition. You didn't. There were probably tons of things, like you said, the Mickey Mouse Club, which ended up being a huge show that skyrocketed a lot of people. So sometimes, the newer generation, they might not remember or understand the failures and the steps you took to get there. They just look at, I want it now. And it doesn't always happen like that.
No, it doesn't. And sometimes the things you want maybe aren't right for you, Yeah, no, it's and it's funny because I always have I don't like giving advice. It's weird, Like I love that Johnny Cash quote where he says, I gave advice once to Roy Orbison, and I said, lose the glasses, change your name, and don't sing so high. And then he's like, I'll never give advice again. But like, it's, we don't know. I don't know, I think, but I do think that we can grow, like if I keep the focus on like, hey, let me grow. Like, when you watch like coaches and they're like, they do a long season, whether it's a soccer season, my hat, or like they're just constantly, they're like focusing on improvement. That's it. Let's stay focused on improvement. Don't get distracted. Work on improvement.
So what's next for you and everything that you have going on?
Finishing post-production on my movie Failed State, and we're launching a little comedy radio hour record thing. I'm deliberately not calling it a podcast because I like I like comedy records, and content is like a thing people are absorbing to eat. Content? No, it's art. Listen to it a couple times. And then I'm waiting on a job, hopefully, to do some writing, and then, working with writers in my class that I teach on Zoom, and then and just seeing what's next. It's a great question. Hey, when you work in the arts, it's like, hey, what is next? Let's go. What's coming? None of us know what's next.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, social media. Where can people find you?
I'm on. When I created my Instagram thing, I didn't know it was going to be Instagram, so I used like an old email name that I don't even have anymore. I can't believe I did that. But it's I'm at archiedohman. I know. ARCHIE. For some reason I'm doing this because as if like ARCHIEDOHMAN. Or you could just look me up on Matt Doherty on Instagram. And I also have a website called asongofourselves.com. A song of ourselves, one word.com. And that's I like working with writers and storytellers. Yeah.
And it's funny, when I was trying to reach out, I looked on Instagram and I read that username and I was like, I don't think so. And then it took me to scroll and I was like, no, okay, I think that's him. But I was like, why? What is that?
I don't know. I got to call the Instagram people up and be like, what did I do? Help me out. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I appreciate you, Mike, for being really good at what you do, man. Asking good questions and and having a great conversation. The power of conversation is pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you being a guest, and that's what the world's missing, is just one another listening, and you know what I mean? And that's something that I've told people I have to be a better person on, listening first before responding.
Well said. Thank you for the reminder.
Thank you so much for being on. And whenever you wrap up production, if you'd like to come back on, love to have you.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll have you. I'll send you the movie. You can watch it.
Absolutely, man.
Take care, everybody.